Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tipoff 2021-2022. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, joined by the Professor of Roundball Action, Mr. Larry Kelly, and we are now in the calendar year of 2022. So to you, sir, and everybody else around the county and around the world, Happy New Year.
Thank you, my brother. But we were off for a week or two, were we not? I mean, I didn't get any phone call. I thought I might have been replaced. I kept checking the website to see what was going on here.
Well, I just thought you were vacationing in Bermuda or something like that, Caribbean.
Always have time for you, Mr. Poniewasz, and via Zoom, you can find me wherever you want me.
Okay.
Not that you want to find me, but, just in case you're looking for me.
Sure.
I'm here.
All right, he's here. When we are here and you are there, and we are going to talk to you this week about Athlete of the Week. We have a young man that performed pretty darn well in 3 basketball games for his team. We'll let Larry talk about the Red Hurricane report, maybe even an extended discussion now, since, as Larry mentioned, we have been absent for a couple weeks in terms of the holiday break, so he might have a little bit more to say on the Canes. And then we have a random topic that I think we'll get some good play here. I think Larry will enjoy talking about this, being the coach that he is. But first, Laban Barker, a 5'9" junior guard for the Laurel Spartans, is our Athlete of the Week. And Laban Barker scored 22 points in a 42-40 win over Mohawk. And that includes the game-winning basket as time expired in that game. He also had 6 rebounds in that tilt. 13 points in a 48-23 victory over Riverside, and he backed that up on Saturday with 18 points in a 51-43 win over West Middlesex in the showdown at Sharon, which was a showcase of basketball, boys and girls, actually, at Sharon High School. But Laban Barker, our Athlete of the Week. Larry Kelly?
Hey, he had a pretty good week. First of all, Laurel comes away with 3 wins. So I think first and foremost, that's the most important thing about what we're talking about here. But when you score half your team's points against Mohawk, not only a section rival, but a tri-county rival that goes back forever and ever, and then you put up another almost half the points in a win against West Middlesex, you've had a good week. Basketball coaches, they study film, they watch the tape, and I'm sure that Mr. Barker is maybe getting double teamed at times. Good basketball coaches are not going to let one player beat you. And notwithstanding the extra attention that I'm sure he's getting, he's still putting up some pretty magnificent numbers. Again, you score half the points in a 42-40 win, and you have 22 of those points. You've had a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just if you would comment on his ability to hit a game winner, just the type of basketball player that he is. As you mentioned, the half the team's points, I'm sure they were keying on him defensively. Now you have a big spot in the game where, it's either hit the shot or go to overtime. They had to have been even playing enhanced defense on him, something to deny the ball, maybe even deny any kind of a shot. And he still made it. Just if you would comment on that.
Well, if I'm coaching the other team, I'm doing everything in my power not to let him beat me. I might have to double team him as soon as if he's bringing the ball up the court, I'm double teaming him. If he's coming off a screen, I'm double teaming off the screen. I'm not going to let him beat me. I'm going to make somebody else beat me. A player that has 22 points out of the 42 scored, 20 out of the 40 up until that point, I'm going to make somebody else beat me. So he's going to see a double team, whether he's bringing the ball up the court or whether he's coming off a screen. I'm not going to let him beat me. So the fact that he did beat that Mohawk team is extra special because, Mike O'Lear, he's been around a long time, and I'm sure that he had something ready for Mr. Barker on that last possession. But here's something too and this is why in a 40-40 game, if Mohawk scored, and I don't know how the scoring went, if Mohawk scored a bucket, that's why if I'm Laurel, I don't call timeout. In that situation, I don't want them setting up their defense. I don't want them changing their defense. I'm going to get it and go, get the ball in the hands of my best player and go. Conversely, if I'm Mohawk and I just scored a bucket to make it 40-40, I am calling timeout because I do want to set up my defense. So that's the way I've done it, and that's the way we do it at Newcastle. It's the way Ralph does it. You know, offensively, I'm not going to call a timeout. I don't want them changing their defense, and I don't want them setting it up. Defensively, I am calling a timeout because I want to make sure that we're ready defensively for them and make any adjustments on the defensive end that we think is necessary, you know, to give us the best chance to win the game.
I'm glad you brought that up because it triggered in my mind how that game played out. I remember talking to Ken Locke that night for the box score, getting some comments, and then about a half hour later or so, as he's watching the tape of it, he called me and told me, he said, "Hey, I just thought it was kind of interesting. Mohawk tied the game. I can't remember if it was 3:45 or 4 minutes left in the game at 40. There was no scoring for about the last 3.5, 4 minutes, something like that. And I asked him, I said, did you play slow down? Did you just hold the ball and stand there for 4 minutes? He goes, no. We couldn't score and they couldn't score. They had a shot with about 45 seconds or so. They didn't make it, and we got the rebound and we went the other way, and we set up a shot. So essentially, as you were saying, there was no score in a dead ball situation with timeout. It was futility for about 3.5 or 4 minutes where neither team could score and neither team was fouling. So what a game that
But it sounds like when Laurel got the ball back with 40 seconds left, they did not call a timeout. Right. It sounds like that. And again, that's my philosophy. I don't want them changing their defense or setting up a defense that my team hasn't seen the last 3 or 4 times down the court. So that's my philosophy. You know, that's the philosophy that I followed forever and ever. And if you watch basketball as I do, especially college basketball, not so much NBA, because when they call a timeout, they take the ball out at half court. But you'll see that many coaches kind of follow my philosophy. They don't call a timeout, they get it and go.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't like the strategy in the NBA where you call a timeout and you advance it to half court. It's like Monopoly. You get this pass go. Why? That is the dumbest thing to me. You know, with that little niche in the rule, I just don't get that. But yeah, that was an interesting game, and he came through in the clutch with that game-winning shot. He can rebound. He got 6 rebounds the other day in that game. And it's not just Laban Barker, as you said, you know, scoring half the points. You know, Eli Sycophus is a good player. He's a double-double machine. We'll be talking about Eli Sycophus, I'm sure, in the near future. He had a double-double Saturday against West Middlesex. Kobe DeRosa, the quarterback of the football team, he's a good basketball player. He puts up numbers. He had 18 3 or 4 games ago for them. So they're a team, Larry. I want to say they're 9-1. I don't know that offhand, but they're a really good basketball team. And remember, they lost Marcus Haswell and Sam Haswell to graduation. So you lose 2,000-point scorers. How's Laurel going to be this year? Well, if somebody were to ask me, that would have been my first thing. Okay, you lose 2,000-point scorers. How do you think they're going to be? You know, you're going to have to replace those players. Ken Locke's done a hell of a job with that basketball.
Let me tell you how they've replaced them. Yeah. They've given up 106 points in 3 games. Mm-hmm. I'm not a mathematician, but that's 32 points a game.
Yeah.
If you can hold a varsity high school basketball team on average to 32 points a game, you're playing defense. You're boxing out. You're doing all of the little things that create winning basketball plays. Holding teams to 32 points a game the last 3 games is outstanding.
Mm-hmm. And that'll close it up on Athlete of the Week. But before we go on Athlete of the Week, real quick, since we were off these 2 weeks, Kelly Cleaver was an Athlete of the Week. Her Athlete of the Week feature ran December 29th. The Union Lady Scots are undefeated on the season. Mike Sopko was our Athlete of the Week for January 5th. And he plays for Neshannock, and they're off to a nice start as well. They are 8-3. So now we're kind of caught up on Athlete of the Week. We've told you about Laban Barker, and we mentioned the 2 people that were Athlete of the Week before that. Larry, are you all queued up for Red Hurricane Report? Because that's what's coming up next, my friend.
Absolutely queued up for Red Hurricane Report.
He's queued up for all things Newcastle. We're going to give him about a 30-second break, and we'll be right back with you here to talk Red Hurricane Report. Okay. Yeah, that's a good basketball team, Laurel. They're fun to watch.
They're playing defense. I'd love to see them play. They're playing I don't care. You hold West Middlesex. West Middlesex is good basketball. You hold them to 43 points. You're playing. You're playing defense. You're rebounding your own end. You're doing all the little things that win basketball games.
Want another juicy tidbit about the West Middlesex game?
Go ahead.
If you're playing a basketball game and you say first team to 10 wins, Laurel was in trouble because West Middlesex opened the game on a 10-0 run.
0 run, and then held them to 33 points the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty impressive.
Red Hurricane Report by Larry Kelly. All set?
Ready to go.
All right. 3, 2, and 1.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
We're back with you here on Tip-Off. And Larry, last week, Elwood City boys went on the road and beat Neshannock on Friday night, 56-34 in a section matchup. And if you remember last year, Neshannock won both regular season games, and then as fate would have it, the two teams were on a collision course. They played each other in the semifinals on the Lancers' home floor. And with all due respect to Elwood City, I'm sure a lot of people, if you asked them who's going to win that game, a lot of people would have probably said, well, Neshannock's going to win. Well, Neshannock got beat that game by about 11 points, I think, and Elwood City went on to win the WPIL championship and advance on to the state playoffs. And as I mentioned Friday night, Elwood City, in the first meeting since that night, Elwood City won 56-34. Larry, we covered that game. Our new sports writer, Cody Pattison, covered it, and John Corey was quoted in our paper as saying this, quote, "We've prided ourselves on having really good off seasons where we get better and multiple guys get skilled. This wasn't one of those years. This game was lost back in May, June, and July. Basketball season comes and it starts asking what you did in the summer. And this was one of our worst summers in 15 years, period, close quote." So when I read that, I was really shocked. I mean, I was stunned. First of all, Neshannock is 8-3 overall. However, as I always say, you know, and I know you're a coach and you care about the record. What I care about is they're 0-2 in conference. You know, the 8-3 looks sparkling, but you know, they are 0-2 in league play. But however, first of all, let me ask you this. Is that a quote more to get in, you know, get on the kids to say, you got to buckle down right now, like to fire them up to get their attention? Where would you start with that quote?
First of all, I agree with what he said. You want to win championships. Basketball is a skill game. You have to develop both your skill and your body during the off season. And, you know, you reap what you sow, right? Somebody once said, if you don't pay the price in the summer, both from a skill standpoint in developing your body, then you're not going to be reaping benefits once the season starts. So I agree with Coach Corey. You know, as a coach, you can't force the kids to be there. But when the culture is developed, it's an expectation, and the teammates hold each other accountable. And I think it was probably disappointing for him because he's had so many great seasons at Neshannock that, you know, he didn't get the, he didn't get the effort that probably he was looking for this summer. Now, is that being thrown out there also to grab the attention of his players? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Maybe they need to work a little harder. Maybe that's the message that he's trying to send. You want to win championships, you can't lose on your home court. You got to hold serve on your home court. This is our house. Nobody's coming in here and beating us. And it was a dominating performance by Elwood City. And, they won that game handily. So I agree with Coach Corey. I do. I know John personally. And, he's probably right. If you don't pay the price in the summer, both to develop your body and your skills, then you will not reap the benefits once the season starts.
I know when I read that story, I sat up in my chair. I mean, it got my attention. And I'm thinking, if that doesn't get those kids' attention, I'm not sure what will. Great coach, John Corey, great coach, great basketball mind. Here's what I want to ask you. A lot of times Ralph Blundo will say, we use the holiday break as a means to improve, to get better, to make that next push toward the WPIL playoffs and state playoffs. Could that string of quotes, could that be something that, okay, you might have lost that time back then, but could there be something to get these kids to gel, like on the fly, maybe a spur of the moment thing, just to get their minds right and their game right, so they can push forward?
Well, you're going to know what kind of team you have the very first practice following that quote in the paper. Mm-hmm. If they come to practice fired up and ready to go, and you have your best practice of the year, then you got a team that's going to make some noise moving forward. If that statement doesn't move them to the point where the next practice you have is your best practice of the year, then you're going to be in for a long season. Been there, done that both ways. Mm-hmm. I have. And right, sometimes you got to challenge your team. I know for a fact, I got some inside information that Steve Antuano challenged Joe Roth before that Neshannock game. And he challenged him. And, he didn't think that Joe was giving him everything that he had. And Joe had a monster game against Neshannock.
Yeah. Well, do you know, I honestly don't know anything about it. Sharon basketball this year, good program, good team.
Good coach, always a good team. I don't know how good their team is this year, but there's a good coach at Sharon. He's had a lot of success. And again, if he has talent, he will win.
Well, the reason I asked that is you mentioned the next practice. The very next day was a game day for Neshannock, and they beat Sharon 55-37, I believe was the final score. They beat them by 18 points. So
there's your answer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's your answer. Sharon always has a good team. Mm-hmm. They're better some years than others, but they're always good. Some years they're just a little better, but they're always good. And the fact that Neshannock came out the next day and beat them handily is your answer. These teams, this team is ready to make a statement and to put a push on, and that's a very good sign as a coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the game is Tuesday for Neshannock, but Friday I'm almost positive they have Laurel. So this is going to be an awfully big week for Neshannock, because if you go 1-1, okay, that's fine. You can't go 0-2. You just can't. But boy, if you could beat Laurel, and then possibly steal whatever game you have on Tuesday, you're right back in the mix. And with 2-2, right, this early in section play, before the turn of the section play, the second half, they're right in this thing.
I think they got to run the table, though. They do. I mean, they're going to have Beaver Falls, I think, on the road, and Elwood on the road. The second half of the season, and those are going to be two difficult games. So, they're going to have to run the table, I think, if they want to win the section, because I think the section winner will not have more than 2 losses.
Right. Yeah. But agree, disagree, they will be in the playoffs. That's my stance. They will be in the WPIL playoffs. Agree?
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. They're going to make the playoffs. The key is to continually get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not important to play your best basketball in December and early January. You have to continue to get better. You know, as a team, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You really don't stay the same. And so therefore, I'm sure that, you know, with that little nudge that they receive from their coach to grab their attention, there's a lot of talent in the Shannon. These are talented young men, and they're tough. So the fact that they put on a really good performance against Sharon, I think is a statement as to where they're headed.
Sure. Okay, that is it for us this week. Larry, I appreciate you joining us. We thank you. One more thing real quick. Who you got, Alabama or Georgia, as we're probably moments away from kickoff?
I got Alabama. You know, Nick Saban he's a special coach. He'll have his guys ready. The talent's equal on both of those teams. But even though Georgia is the favorite in the game, you know, until somebody beats the Crimson Tide, you know, Alabama's still the team to beat. So I got Alabama. But before we leave, you know, I want to congratulate Pete on his selection as editor of the Newcastle News. As I told him, he has big shoes to fill. My dear friend Dan Irwin, Tim Kaloje, Len Kolosinski, Bob Vosberg. In my mind, those guys are legends who've held that position. And I'm sure Pete will do a great job. And I want to commend you guys. You know, people around here are spoiled. The job you do in covering high school sports at the Newcastle News is second to none. Always has been and always will be. And, you know, I think sometimes our readers take that for granted. This doesn't happen everywhere, and you guys do a great job.
Well, we appreciate that. I second your sentiment on Pete Sirianni. He's doing a great job and will continue to do a great job. Right guy for the job for sure. And we appreciate all the things that you say and then our readers say as well about our coverage. We hope everybody feels that way, and we strive to reach greater heights, that's for sure. So thank you again, Larry.
All right. Thank you for having me, Ronnie. See you next week.
I became an attorney because I believe in hard work, fairness, and human decency. In a word, justice. Our workers' compensation clients deserve justice because in an instant, their hard work turns into hard times when they get hurt on the job. No doubt, life is tough, but so am I. I've been fighting all my life, and I'll keep fighting for you. I'm Joe George, and here in Lawrence County, it's personal.